Today we are polishing this beautiful Chevy Silverado High Country. This person actually found me on social media and drove from another city to have me get his truck looking right. So that's a big compliment for me, and I'm excited to show you guys what I did to this paint. The main concerns that this person did have coming in was that one, the paint felt like sandpaper. You could literally hear your hand running across it. Two, the truck had this brownish tinge to it that wouldn't come off with what looked like drip marks running down the paint. And three, overall, he just wasn't happy with where the paint was at or where he thought it could be. Just from hearing the concerns, I knew roughly the steps I would be taking, and after inspecting the paint, it definitely verified it. It needed a manual and chemical decontamination wash. The manual decon part comes with a clay bar, and the chemical decon portion comes with a strong pre-wash solution and iron remover. The wheels were easy on this one. They were in good shape with very little contamination, so we were just cleaning them with our regular wheel cleaner, which in this case was P&S Brake Buster. For the paint portion of this though, I was waiting to see what the paint looked like after the decon wash to decide if it was getting a single stage polish or a cut and polish. The person was fine with either one, we just really needed to see what it needed. The pre-wash solution was Labo Cosmetica's Primus, which has been my favorite pre-wash for a while now. It has a good dilution ratio, it's strong, and it's safe. This just gets off all the surface level grime that isn't too stuck on the paint, and you can see from the clips here, you can really let it dwell for a few minutes as it runs down before pressure washing it off. For the iron remover portion, I'm using the Maniac line one. The Maniac brand is under the same umbrella as Labo Cosmetica, so it's also a good lineup with good products. This stuff turns purple, as you'll see in some of the upcoming clips, when it starts to break down iron particles, so you'll see visibly how much brake dust it's removing, and on white vehicles like this, it shows up a lot more, so it's always pretty satisfying to use iron remover on vehicles like this, just because you see everything that's coming off. For the clay portion of this, I actually used two different styles of clay, and I'll explain why as well. I used a synthetic clay mitt first, just to see if it would get rid of that brown tinge, and sure enough, it did absolutely nothing. The clay mitts are good in, I would say, 80 to 90% of scenarios, but they don't always have the bite to take care of the heavier stuff. So I went in again afterwards with a full-on clay bar, just to really see what it would do. But to my surprise on that as well, it actually took a very long time to accomplish anything with the clay bar itself, and it still wasn't nearly as effective as I was hoping it would be. Now, truthfully, I've never really had a clay bar not do what I expected it to do. I've probably done over 1,000 washes at this point, and very rarely does a clay bar not work. But this was clearly some type of heavy fallout. It could be some kind of industrial fallout. It could have been railroad dust that sat on it for too long. It could have been someone was welding near the paint and it filled it with that smog. It could have been so many different things that I'm not sure. All I know is that a clay bar itself was just not really doing the trick. But luckily, like I mentioned earlier, we already had a plan that if the decon worked well, we could definitely get away with a single stage polish and it would look brand new again. And if it didn't, then we would have to go ahead with a cut and polish to get us there. And that's exactly what we ended up going forward with. Now for the paintwork, we are going to be using Lake Country's HDO buffing pads, and for the actual products, we're using Mafra's Heavy Cut Compound. And again, Mafra, that brand itself, is actually under the same umbrella as Labo Cosmetica and Maniac line. Again, they have really good stuff. So Mafra's Heavy Cut Compound for that first step, just to give this paint a good cut, and it actually removed all of that brown tinge. It could have been some oxidization, who knows, but either way, it removed it really nicely. And then for the polishing stage, I went ahead and we were using Rupes Uno Protect. So this is my favorite polish, hands down, because it acts as a paint sealant as well, and it has some additives in it like natural waxes and polymers, so it gives the paint additional gloss, water beading, insane slickness, and some good UV protection just to prevent it from oxidizing quickly again. Now, it's not the kind of polish you would use before a ceramic coating per se because of the additives that are in it, but the additives that are in this one I like because it's not just for the sake of having them. It's not to cover blemishes or hide imperfections. It's to provide benefits to the paint like that UV protection and extra gloss and slickness. So if you're not applying a coating and you're just doing a regular polish or a cut and polish like we're doing in this case, this polish will basically always be my go-to, I think. After applying that first layer of polish, I let it sit for about 15 minutes on the paint before I wiped it off, and then I let it cure for an entire hour in the sun before I applied my second paint sealant. And that is right, we doubled up on this one. We are going in with Silver Wax's Lotus Effect on top, which gives an extremely slick surface, amazing water beading effects, and additional UV protection. This was just a throw in because this client did come from out of town to come in and get this work done. I wanted to provide him with a little extra benefit to his paint so it lasts longer for him. For the glass, I applied the Maniac line Rain Speed. Now, this is hands down my favorite glass sealant right now. It is insanely easy to apply and remove, which is hard to get both out of the same product. It works really well, and a bottle would easily last you a year or potentially even more if it's just on a personal vehicle. And last but not least, for the tires, we will be applying Geon Q2 tire protectant. It is much better than a cheap tire dressing. It lasts a lot longer, it doesn't dry your rubber out, and it doesn't turn brown from dirt sticking to it because it actually repels dirt. And when you see the clip of me actually doing the tires, you'll probably be thinking, man, that must have taken a while for each tire. And yeah, it definitely took a few minutes for each one. I used a detailing brush to get between all of the lettering and all of the grooves to make sure it was evenly applied. There's no need to rush when you want good quality results at the end of it. So long story short, we did a full decontamination wash, a 2-stage cut and polish, 2 layers of sealant, a glass sealant, and a tire sealant. So he was very happy with the results. We've removed all of the staining on the paint and the white is popping way more than it was before. And on top of that, the metallic in this paint and the sun is really shiny now. So if you like these types of videos, don't forget to subscribe. I post DIY and professional detailing content, and I happily show people how to do a lot of these things on their own to save themselves time and money.